Welcome to the lesson, Lighting. The lower part of the overhead panel controls combined landing and taxi lights. And the runway exit lights. The Lights and Notices panel controls dual navigation lights. White anti-collision strobes. Note, on some airplanes, these lights are also controlled through Squat Switch 2. Red beacons. Wing icing inspection lights. And logo lights. Internal lighting to all equipment and landing gear bays illuminates whenever the bay doors are open and the aircraft AC bus bars are powered. If power is not available, a switch can be used to illuminate some of the avionics bay lights directly from the battery. Entry lights are controlled by the Lights and Notices panel. A second switch is located in the entry area behind the first officer. The lower left side of the overhead panel controls standby compass and eye locator lighting, and glare shield brightness. The lower part of the overhead panel controls the flight deck emergency lights. The lower right side of the overhead panel controls panel instrument lighting and the panel lighting. The left side console controls flight kit lighting, still lighting, lap lighting, flood and storm lighting, and instrument lighting. The right side console controls the mentioned lighting parts on the first officer's side. The center console controls forward and aft control lighting and console flood lighting. A dim switch for the forward console lighting is located on a center pedestal. With external power connected to the aircraft, but not selected internally, dim entry lights will illuminate in the forward vestibule. Selecting ground power on, either from the cockpit or at the cabin attendant's panel, will cause the dim entry lights to extinguish. Full front and rear entry lighting can be selected. The forward cabin attendant's panel also controls 4 rows of overhead lighting, passenger reading lights, and toilet lights. Cabin emergency lights can be selected from the flight deck at the Lights and Notices panel. A second switch for cabin emergency lighting is located above the forward cabin attendant seat. No smoking and fasten seatbelt signs are also controlled from the cockpit. If no smoking is selected to auto, the warning lights will illuminate whenever the landing gear is selected down. Click on the buttons to locate the different lights. After the battery is selected on and checked, AC power can be checked and connected to the aircraft. Flight deck lighting can then be set as required. If external AC power is not available, the APU may be used as AC power source. The navigation lights would now be selected on to indicate the aircraft is manned. The lights and notices panel is checked. Fasten seatbelt is selected on. The flight deck emergency lights would be checked and armed. Selection of flight deck and cabin emergency lights to the arm position will cause them to illuminate automatically when essential DC power fails. During the walk-around, check the cover and condition of the following lights: runway exit and wing lights, taxi landing lights, and logo lights. Moreover, check that all nav lights are lit. The cabin emergency lights shall be switched on and checked for condition. Additionally, all other cabin lights shall be checked for condition. If the cabin emergency lights are left at arm or switched on with the aircraft being depowered, they cannot be extinguished by simply selecting them off. In this case, they can be switched off by ensuring the battery power is switched on, selecting Start Master on, and then switching cabin emergency lights off. Immediately before starting the engines, the beacon is selected on. Note, For those airplanes with optional squat switch modification, the strobes can be selected on at this time. When the aircraft is ready to taxi, the taxi lights are selected on. When the aircraft enters the runway, the strobe lights are selected on if not already selected. Landing lights are selected as required. During the climb, the lights can be switched from landing to taxi. In most parts of the world, landing or taxi lights are left on until passing 10,000 feet. As the aircraft descends below 10,000 feet, the landing or taxi lights are selected on. They must be switched to landing lights when the aircraft is ready to land. If the aircraft passes through very thick clouds at night, flashing lights can be very disorienting. In this case, the strobe should be switched off until the aircraft comes out of the clouds. If lightning is encountered during thunderstorms, the effect of flashes can be reduced by selecting the storm position of the panel flood. If icing is encountered, the wing lights can be used to check for icing on the wings. Before turning off the runway, taxi lights will be selected. If the turnoff area is not well illuminated, the runway exit lights can also be selected. When clear of runway, strobes are selected off. As the aircraft approaches its parking position, the taxi lights are turned off to avoid dazzling the marshaller. When the engines have been shut down, the beacon is switched off. Before leaving the aircraft, the remaining lights are turned off. At essential power level, with the standby generator operating, the following external lights are available: anti-collision beacons, navigation lights, left landing and taxi lights. Flight deck lights available at essential power level are instrument panel floodlights, console floodlight, and flight deck emergency lights. Cabin lights available